The AI for Good Global Summit, convened by ITU, recognizes the joint responsibility of governments, the private sector, United Nations agencies, academia and others to ensure AI reaches its full potential while preventing and mitigating harms.
And it's a moment that calls for action. And today I'm calling on each of you to use this summit to help the world to better understand what kinds of regulations, what kinds of guardrails we need to put in place right now. So together, let's make it innovative, let's make it safe, and let's make it responsible for all. Thank you very much.
Welcome to AI for Good, the leading action-oriented, global and inclusive United Nations platform on AI. Organized by ITU, in partnership with 40 UN sister organizations, and co-convened with Switzerland. The goal of AI for Good is to identify practical applications of AI to advance the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and scale those solutions for global impact. In today's session, we're counting on you to use the live video wall feature to ask questions and post comments to help create an engaging discussion. We encourage you to stay until the end to chat, connect, ask questions, and network with our distinguished panelists and world-class AI experts in the neural network. It is now time to kick off the session and welcome our first speaker. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Anna. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from me as well. I'm Guilherme Martinez Roura from the International Telecommunication Union, and I would like to welcome you all for joining today's AI for Good webinar, Innovation Factory session, Meet the Robotics for Good Startups Advancing Sustainable Development, organized by the ITU. The Innovation Factory is a program launched in 2020 under the flagship initiative AI for Good. It originally started as an online pitching platform for startups, and this year it has been upgraded as more like an accelerating program. We help startups grow and scale their innovative AI and robotic solutions to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by providing various business opportunities, mentoring services, matchmaking with potential investors and partners, cash prizes, and more. Today, I'm delighted to introduce the first Robotics for Good Innovation Factory event of this season 2023-2024 as part of a series of global startup pitching sessions to find the most promising solutions using AI and robotics to solve sustainable development challenges. The winner of today's session is invited to pitch at the AI for Good Innovation Factory Grand Finale during the AI for Good Global Summit 2024, scheduled for 31st May 2024 in Geneva with travel support from KUKA. And through the year, the winner will be supported to grow and scale up through the help of our judges, partners, startups, accelerators, and incubators, so that we can trace how the Robotics for Good Innovation Factory startups grow and evolve and are making impact. Especially today's session is organized in partnership with KUKA, AI for Good supporter, and AI for Good Global Summit 2024 sponsor, and Mass Robotics. Thanks to these partnerships, we were able to meet very interesting robotics startups helping to advance the Sustainable Development Goals. And now, without further ado, I would like to give the floor to our esteemed moderator today. Her name is Pascal Davies, and she's the tech correspondent at Euronews. Pascal, the floor is yours.
Hello there, it's my pleasure to be here today and to see what exciting startups that have been picked for today. I've looked through them and they're really exciting. Some of them I already know. So first of all, I'd like to introduce our judges who will have the tough job today of selecting which startup is going to win that great prize. So I'd like to start with Michaela Morel of Mass Robotics. So Michaela, I want to ask you, what will you be looking for today as you decide on the winner?
so much, Pascal, and thank you so much for having me here today. I work at Mass Robotics, which is the largest robotics innovation hub in the United States, maybe the world. And so I get to see a lot of different robotic startups coming through. And so I'm looking today for the startup that has shown the most progress, that can I clearly articulate how it's going to help us move forward on some of the UN SDGs, and who has a team that shows that they really love the problem and the solution that they've picked.
Thanks, Michaela. I'll be looking forward to hearing your questions to those startups. Ludovic Cockeret of the Sony Innovation Fund will be our second judge today. Ludovic, I want to ask you what you are particularly excited about today.
Well, thanks again, everybody, for inviting me to today's event. Look forward to hearing the startups. So, yeah, I mean, at Sony Ventures, we're investing on behalf of Sony. So we've seen many robotics, and we've invested in many robotics AI companies. I think 2 points specifically for me. One is how they can quantify the climate impact, that we can, solve that aspect. And the second is that, hardware is always hard. It's never easy. How and which steps the startups are taking or plan to be taking to kind of get to this, MVP and actual product. And is this a realistic plan that they are presenting today?
Super. And next up, I have Bruce Leake of Playground Global. Bruce, what will you be looking for today, and what do you think is going to set the startups apart?
Thank you, Pascal. As a deep tech investor, I always look first at the technology and make sure that it's capable of making the impact we're looking for. And then on top of that, I'm looking for the team that can really deliver on that impact in the world.
Excellent. I look forward to hearing your thoughts. And finally, we have Dr. Hui Zhang, who's a CTO at KUKA, who is awarding that prize. Why is it so special for you, Dr. Hui?
Thank you, Pascal. I think KUKA, as an industrial robot leader in the market, is particularly looking for new technologies that can make a social impact. I think AI for Good is a particular event that we are interested to sponsor, and looking to meet all the startups around the world exactly for this purpose.
Super. Well, those are our judges. You'll be hearing from those in a second. So thanks a lot for them for taking your time today. And it's great to have such a wide variety of judges as well, from funds and from robotics and everything. So it's very exciting. So to the audience, thank you for joining us today. You can leave your questions in the AI for Good Neural Networks chat room. There will be time after we've done our quick round of questions of the judges for your questions to be posed to those startups. So let's move on now to the pitching competition. The first team is Akwai, who are protecting our waterways. So Akwai, you have 5 minutes for your pitch. I will be timing it, so please finish on time, and I'll let you know when 1 minute is left. You'll then have 10 minutes with our judges, who are going to grill you on your startup. So are you ready to take the floor, Akwai?
Indeed I am. Thank you, everyone, for
5 minutes starts now.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm Liana Thompson, the founder and CEO of Akwai, and we are harnessing information from waterways affordably. Before I dive into the technology, let me just bring you up to speed where we are today as a company. We have some revenue in the door. We actually have customers and signed orders, and we're hoping to deliver to them in the near future. We have ample inbound, and we have our full patents as well. So let's talk about the problem. The problem is, what's in your water? Today's day, we need to protect our water more than ever. The problem is, it's very difficult to understand what is in the water, to access information from waterways. And ultimately, as it says, you can't manage what you can't measure. So when you look at all the different places where water is on our globe, which is 70% of our globe, we have a dire need to protect that water, since it is our life source. And the solution is to be able to access data from waterways affordably, and that's in salt and fresh waterways, and have it easily accessible on a web dashboard. And all those flags you see are where our robots are swimming and inductively charging from freshwater all the way down into marine water. The solution that we have beyond the data dashboard that we deliver, that you access the data on, is the robot in which we are actually harnessing the information using AI, advanced perception, and computer vision. It looks and swims like a real fish. It immerses with the natural habitat, and as you can see, it carries a payload of cameras and sensors for eco-friendly, unobtrusive data acquisition. Why a fish? Well, the science is that we can swim using the indulation of the tail, and that helps us on power efficiency beyond what I've mentioned in terms of immersion with the natural habitat. Our value proposition is that we are using 3D and SLS printing, flexible manufacturing, with which to make the shell. Cameras and sensors are off the shelf. It's light and easy. I can deploy one in the Arctic Circle in less than 5 minutes. And we are also able to monitor all the robots that are swimming everywhere. When you look at what systems are in the waterways today, in terms of drones, most of them were built for the deep pockets of oil and gas and the defense sector. We're working with blue economy stakeholders. We want to be the John Deere tool of anyone doing anything in the waterways in terms of protecting our environment and protecting our waterways. So we don't work with the military, and we, as I said, can swim and stay in the water up to a year at a time. Our team is what I like to call a bunch of Mad Hatters internationally. And when you put a group of diverse backgrounds together, then they definitely problem solve differently. They have all been very successful in their own right, and together are unmatchable in bringing Akwai forward. The market is an AUV and ROV market that we're looking at, but I want you to look more at the precision aquaculture market, because taking a bottom-up approach, that's where we already have market entry. Although the use cases vary, as I'm sure you're aware, a drone can be in fresh and salt, rivers, oceans, and so forth. But we have our foundation partners in sustainable aquaculture in the north of Norway, supplying Whole Foods with sustainable salmon. They do not use live fish. They are using seaweed and insects with which to feed their fish to grow. This is where groups that we're working with and where we have ample MOUs and LOIs. And in looking at where our other attraction is, we're a US company headquartered in California. We have a subsidiary in Norway and just recently opened up another subsidiary in the UAE, where we also have traction. I'm actually raising capital right now to deliver on signed orders. The business model is B2B, where we are leasing the hardware for 2 years, and the data that is accessible per month per unit is a subscription. So we do have that recurring revenue.
You have
and
1
then
minute.
in terms of what SDGs that we actually address, as you see here, all of those. The reason why I have the mention there of the carbon sink in the ocean being the largest, because I have a lot of people say, well, no, we just focus on carbon. Well, everyone doing anything in the water, including carbon counting, they need a tool. And again, I mentioned to you that they need a tool that is affordable, that's easy to use, and that can supply them the information and the metrics so that they can actually count the carbon in our largest carbon sink, as well as in other waterways, whether it's nutrient spikes from ag runoff or ports and protecting those waterways. And so that's Akwai, and contact me, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. It was great to hear about Akwai, and within time, so well done you. I'm now going to give the floor to our judges, who are going to grill you for 10 minutes. Judges, I will let you know when your time is coming up to an end.
I'm happy to start. Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Very exciting presentation. Thank you for going through so much information so quickly. And one of the questions I have is just, there's so many different challenges in waterways and in water. As you mentioned, nutrients, carbon, oxygen, dissolved oxygen. What are you seeing as the key initial things that your customers want you to measure, and how are they seeing the return on investment for getting those measurements?
Yeah, so what we've learned in all of our different prototypes and different trials is that the majority, regardless of sector or use case, the majority of the customers are looking for dissolved oxygen, salinity, pH, temperature, and obviously depth. So those standard sensors are part of our package. However, there are other customers down the line who will be more interested in other types of data metrics. So we have the capacity to hold 16 different sensors on this unit that's already built out. We were planning for the future, but to answer your question, it's primarily those data sets.
And from a business model point of view, your customers, how are they seeing the return on investment in terms of they're paying you to get that information? How does that benefit them?
Yeah, productivity, boosting up production, mitigating, risks in the waterways, and also in the stance of sustainable aquaculture, we're able to help them understand the behavior of the stock, because we do have the 3 cameras on board, and we have a side scanner, so we can do the net inspection to see if there's biofoul buildup, but also by sluggish swim patterns, then the fish aren't going to eat. And the cost for farmers is 50% of their cost is in feed. So if you can help them not waste feed because the fish aren't going to eat, so they can in a sense turn off their auto feeders, then it saves them significantly on feed waste, which helps the environment and the waterways clearly. And then again, boosting productivity because we're actually those eyes below the surface for them. And then I just want to point out, there are other types of systems out there on cages, but if you're looking at 120 or 190 circumference cage and you have static sensors, how good are those static sensors when the stock is on the other side of the cage, especially when there's an oxygen drop and depletion? Well, we're swimming right next to this livestock at all times, so we know if there's an oxygen depletion, which could ultimately kill or wipe out an entire stock. So the customers in sustainable aquaculture are able to get that immediate first response information to act accordingly.
Thank you.
Leon, I have a question. It looks like the life for the battery is between 8 to 12 hours. So
yes,
you manage the charging.
So yeah, it's a good question. I'm happy you're asking me that. So when I pointed out at the beginning of the presentation where those flags were, that's where the inductive charging is taking place. So the units stay in the water 24/7 we've tested out up to 10 months at this time. So no one's having to take it out. It's actually charging, and we're able to go long or short periods of time using the power of the tail actually. And so if we have all of our sensors on or all of our cameras, and of course, that's going to eat up the battery quicker. But there is the inductive charge that they swim up to, and then they charge on their own to complete.
That means if you want to deploy it to a wide area, you also need to deploy those charging stations accordingly.
Correct.
Does it needs to be offshore as well?
Doesn't need to. It needs to be at least a meter of water.
Okay.
But it doesn't need to be offshore. So we've had some inbound requests for quite a bit of onshore, or also not so far offshore, let's say. So near shore, dams, in lakes, estuaries, this type of thing, as well as onshore aquaculture.
Okay.
Which for the larger farms, yeah.
Okay, and those are part of your infrastructure cost for the business also.
Yes, so that's picked up by the customer. There's the cost of the unit, and then there's the cost of the let's say the communication package, and that falls under the communication package as well, because along with the inductive charging, that's where we're also transmitting.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Liane. Great presentation. Couple of questions from my side. So you mentioned about this variety of sensors, up to 16 sensors that your device will have. I'm wondering about the training data, how to train your machine vision or AI algorithms. Obviously, these are very specific types of data, not like things you can find online on the web. So what's been your strategy, or what's your strategy to get enough quality and quantity of data to train your AI or machine vision algorithms?
Well, we test live. That's one of the main reasons we do most of all of our testing live. So we're always harnessing, and even in our paid trials, we were in the water, and we were actually helping other companies who are experts, and I'm not claiming to be an ML expert, but there are companies out there who needed visual information to actually train their ML systems. And so the way we do it is for us, the AI is used primarily. At the moment, we are using primarily computer vision and advanced perception, obstacle avoidance. And then as we move forward, we'll make more of a data play. So a part of the raise that we're doing is to make more of that data play. At the moment, we're delivering raw data as opposed to, predictive analytics, if you will, where more of the machine learning will come into play, more of the AI will also come into play there. So that's been our strategy, was to do what we do really well, which was to nail down where there is a vacuum in the market, which is capable hardware that's affordable and I should say agile, in multiple use cases. And then now we're looking to make more of the data play in terms of the predictive analytics.
Understood. I think this multiple steps makes a lot of sense. Another question I had more about the actual, kind of hardware, right? You mentioned this is going to be 3D printed. So I was wondering what kind of depth in the water this can withstand, obviously with the pressure of the water, both for the hardware, also for the sensors, given, again, it seems you're using off-the-shelf sensors. So are you looking at more surface or more in-depth kind of measurements?
Yeah. So we do and have for the last few years 3D and SLS printed our shell. The sensors and obviously the electronics are in the tubes. The tubes and whatnot are off the shelf as well, and they can go to about 150 meters. Same with the sensors that we're using. Our sweet spot is surface down to about 60 meters. That's where we find most of the problem, if you will, when you're talking about environmental issues. We're not hoping to map the floor. There's a lot of people out there doing that. We're really concentrated on that environmental issue, which is primarily surface to 60 meters, probably even a bit less, whether you're talking about mitigating microplastics, because there are quite a bit of plastics that come through rivers and get under the sand, and coastal plastic issues are not floating nicely. So there's another use case that we were actively monitoring, where subsurface coastal plastics are. So we're again, just to reiterate, we're focusing surface down to 60. However, our drone is capable of going down to 100 meters.
Understood. And my last question, maybe I missed it, but in terms of the data offload or sending back the data, for measurements in future ML, is this done in real time with some kind of wireless connectivity, or is after the mission, the data is kind of offboarded from the device and then processed kind of asynchronously?
Yeah. So if you check our YouTube channel, you'll see the device swimming quite a bit with a tether. That one was transmitting constantly, and it was immediate information. Our new units going out into the water this year are untethered, and that's where the inductive station comes in. That's where we also transmit using 3.4 5G or a localized network. So the robot does the mission or part of the mission. It uploads the data, the information goes back down. So there isn't a need where a physical human needs to go there and take the data off. It's delivered then to our web dashboard. We push it forward it's delivered to our backend. We push it forward to the web dashboard for the customer to access easily.
Okay, unfortunately, we're out of time for any more questions. So thank you, Akwai. It's lovely hearing from you and to our judges for those wonderful questions. Next up, we have the medtech company GiveMove. So GiveMove, you have 5 minutes in which to tell us what your startup is all about. I will start the timer now. Sorry, GiveMove, we can't hear your audio.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you now. Floor is yours.
Okay, thanks. Well, My name is Alejandro Bisi. I'm from Argentina. I'm a biomedical engineer, and I want to tell you the story of Facu, the son of my chemistry teacher at the university. He born with SMA, a degenerative and progressive disease that affects the muscle of the body. At the beginning of his rehabilitation stage, professionals who diagnosed him advised the family to keep him in a standing position, but devices available on the market didn't allow him to develop in a natural way for a child of his age. He had to stand 1 hour in the same place every day, which is not difficult to imagine how distressing it can be for the spirit of a child. Because it's important to mention that there are many anatomical, physiological, and psychological benefits when a person with motor disability stands and moves in this position. But Facu wasn't an isolated case. Worldwide, 1 in 120 children aged 0 to 14 years has a motor disability in the lower limbs and needs a device to be able to mobilize. To solve this problem, we create BIPMOB, the first motorized standard for children that promotes autonomy and independence while the user is rehabilitated. And the day that Facu used the BIPMOB for his first time, he showed it at his mother with a huge smile. "I can run, Mom."
Vos mira para adelante. Con la otra mano bajalo.
This beautiful experience couldn't stay just only in one prototype. We had to do something more, and so GiveMove was born. Today, we have 6 different products that improve the quality of life of children, adolescents, and adults. And thanks to the work we do, we have received the seal of Positive Impact Startup in Latin America, because we work focused on SDG 3 and 9. We incorporate new IoT technology to quantify the time of use and generate interaction with the use of AI that allow us to continue increasing the use of our device for the user's well-being. And thanks to this integration, today our users are tripling the daily usage time recommended by professionals. The products currently offered in the market are static, so they don't promote something fundamental, which is to stimulate a child's independence at an early age. Our users love to using our device because they do it as if they were playing a game. We focus on a B2B2C sales business model, commercializing through our orthopedics representative, as this allows us to ensure support from pre-sale, sale, and after-sales service. On the other hand, we are starting to promote with companies that, from their corporate social responsibility area, allow us to donate our products to families and rehabilitation institutions. We have key partners in Mexico, Chile, and United States. They help us to increase faster the visibility of our technology and the recommendation of medical professionals to prescribe our product for the use. We have grown by just only bootstrapping. We have 230 registered users and $350,000 in sales. We are in the process of FDA and COFEPRIS certification to expand our market to Mexico and United States next month. And last month, we were invited as a speaker at the Global Investment Forum organized by UNTAG in Arab Emirates.
1 minute left.
And I was also recognized by MIT as Young Innovator of Latin America 1 week ago. The realization of success story in social media give us attention from 22 different countries. And this is Facu now. He bring me the rings from the altar this year in my wedding. And we're working for these incredible smiles. This is our biggest motivation to keep creating smiles.
Little darling, the smiles return into their faces. Little darling.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for that and for keeping within the time. Really lovely story there. So I'm now going to let the judges hear more about your company and what it does, and I will let them take the floor. Who would like to take the first question?
I'll go first again. I just got to say that, thank you for the presentation and all the incredible work, Alejandro. I was smiling at the end of that presentation, just like the children. What do you wish you had that you don't have today on your journey?
More contacts, because we have a simple solution for a complex problem worldwide. We are in a very far away country. I live in Argentina, but I had the possibility to show this in Boston, in MIT, in Mexico, to receive recognition in Israel, in UAE, and we want to help more families that cannot buy an exoskeleton, because exoskeletons are the present in Europe, but they are too expensive for families from Latin America, from Africa, and we want to help those families that cannot afford expensive products for the use of daily life.
Thank you.
Hi, Alejandro. Thank you so much for that presentation. It was very, very good. I'm going to follow up a little bit about what Bruce is asking, but you had a slide where you showed sort of all the people you're working with in your business model. What have your conversations been like with medical insurers, and how is that gone?
Yes, for example, here in our country, we have a law that obligates medical insurance to pay 100% of our product. So in my country, we sell the product for the medical insurance. In Mexico, for example, we starting to sell to different companies in order to donate to different institutions, but our chip is to think how to bring our solution to families that cannot pay for the product. This is our biggest challenge.
So one of the
Yes,
things that you
please.
said is that the platform captures data and can share it with care providers.
Yes, for example,
how are the care providers getting that data now if they don't have the platform? Like, what's the data?
For example, we have a lot of products in rehabilitation centers. For example, in Teletón, in Mexico, in United States, and we are working with all children that assist in these medical centers. In the other hand, in Argentina, where we are based now, and we have the biggest users. Okay, we are working on the data that we produce here in our country, and in order to have impact metrics to show to the community.
I think what I'm trying to understand, because what you're presenting seems so useful and important, and sometimes if there's a way to capture new data for healthcare professionals that's either faster or better than what they're already getting, sometimes that can be really helpful for a product to show. So that I was just curious if you were able to do that, and if you're not, that's complete. I think you have a lot of other things, but I just think that's really interesting. And then of course, how you protect data. But I'll stop there.
The information it's very important to show to medical insurance, because if children don't get up at least 1 hour every day, at 3, 4 to 5 years, they get into they have to have a surgery in order to long the muscle of their legs. And it represents a very big problem for the psyche of the children.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandro, for making a very interesting presentation and an interesting story. So it looks like what you are asking for is more of basically market access or market channel to the market that can help your company to grow. Is that the correct understanding?
Yeah, I agree with you. Yes.
And in what way do you believe that either ITU or AI for Good, the platform here can support you?
Well, for example, I came from UAE 2 weeks ago. I was invited by the UN to the World Investment Forum, and it was incredible to show what we are doing from Argentina. And we are working now with 2 different partners in India and in Arab Emirates in order to scale our production and install an assembly plant in those countries in order to decrease the cost of production that we have here in Argentina and to bring the access at a lower price to families in those countries or in all this region. So we want to produce at a lower cost and to sell at a lower cost too, in order to create more smiles. That is our slogan.
Yes, your primary, basically customer. I mean, not the user, but your primary customer essentially are the insurance company in different countries.
Yes.
Insurance policies are very different, varying from country to country.
I know. Yes.
How do you manage to how do you want to manage that?
Well, it's a good question. We want to, for example, in Mexico. In Mexico, medical insurance don't pay for our product. So we start a marketing campaign with donation to medical centers with big corporations that can allow us to bring our solution to medical centers that assist a lot of children. And the most important case is Teletón. Teletón have 13 medical centers in all the country in Mexico. And we want to bring our solution to these centers, helping with those companies that want to help us.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, Alejandro. Very nice presentation and very positive impact, definitely. One question in terms of the platform you're building, in terms of the hardware platform, is it meant to be kind of scalable across ages or level of disability for the children? And if so, like, are you looking at that from more the hardware, like mechanical standpoint, or there will be some kind of software ability to, kind of set the settings in a way of the device?
Yes. The device, well, we have different devices from children, from adolescents and adults. Yes. For children and adolescents, we have a challenge that children grow and the device accompany the growth of the user for the next 4 years. Okay. And it's very easy to adapt for the children. In the other hand, we have the platform in a mobile app that automatically can have all the information about the usage time, and parents can share remotely with medical professionals about the usage time. So it's okay with the answer?
Yes, I understand. It's a combination of both. That's very clear.
Yes.
Thank you, Alejandro.
I think that's all we've got time for, I'm afraid. Lovely to hear about Give Me Alejandro. Thanks so much and for that moving presentation. Next up, we have another robotics company. We have Energy Robotics. So Energy Robotics, you have 5 minutes to wow us. Your time starts now.
Perfect. Let me pull up the presentation. There you go. You can see my screen?
Yep, we can
Yes,
see it.
perfect. Good. My name is Mark Dassler. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Energy Robotics. Thank you for inviting me over. We're living in a world where we're actually completely depending on heavy asset-based industries, right? If you're looking at power, oil, gas, chemical, all those industries have a lot of assets which constantly need to be maintained, inspected, and supervised. Unfortunately, right now, this is still binding a lot of human skilled labor. Means people running around with either tablets or even with pen and paper, collecting the data to get an understanding if the refinery is still working, if the substation is still working, which is costly. And especially if you're looking in the Western civilization, where we're running into a labor shortage because of the baby boomers are going to retire now. And on the other side, we didn't do enough babies, simply speaking. We need to make sure that we automate and digitalize as much as possible. And robots can do the job already. Our software solution allows different types of robots to operate in those ever-changing environments, to collect the data, therefore making the inspection of humans not necessary. We're also doing that with drones, which gives us a unique perspective on the assets and therefore enabling to get the 360 picture of your environment. But we're also doing this with walking robots because in certain environments, you also need to have legs. So how does it work? So our product is actually containing of 2 pieces. One is the robot brain, which enables different types of robots to fully autonomous inspect those outdoor, ever-changing industrial environment, and therefore making operations safe, as well as being capable of connecting different types of sensors to also customize to the customer's needs. The second part is the cloud brain, which enables the different types of robots to work together and therefore also to manage those robots as a fleet, so that you can use different types of robots to effectively operate in your environment, and therefore not only solving the use case, but also solving the business case for the customers. Also, our cloud brain is completely connected to the customer systems. Therefore, the data flow end to end is completely secured. We have been founded in 2019 out of a team of the Technical University Darmstadt, and since now we have grown to 50 dedicated roboticists. And together we have deployed already 80 robots in different parts of the world, which are already executing thousands of hours of missions, as well as doing kilometers a lot. Many of our customers are in oil and gas, like Shell, BP, Woodside, Chevron, but also in chemical environments, we see that this is continuously growing. And especially, and that is where we are looking forward to, is we're seeing in power utilities, the number of substations is growing due to move to renewable energies. But that also brings the same problem in. We have less people to inspect those environments, and this substation, therefore, we need to automate as much as possible. Shell is one of our first customers, and we're very proud that we are the de facto standards system which connects all Shell operations and kinds of drones and robots together in one system, and therefore enables Shell to operate those robots also from areas around the globe, and free people from doing, for example, night shift already, which therefore reduce the risk of injury of those people, as well as increasing their health and making the world a little bit safer in terms of operations.
1 minute to go.
We're not doing that also again with drones, and I want to bring in another example. We also use their drones to inspect tank fields and other environments, and this is cutting down the inspection time from backbreaking 6 hours climbing up those tanks to now 20 minutes, and therefore enabling especially elder workers to stay in job and keep their knowledge into the system. But that's not all, because we obviously, if we're collecting those wonderful data, we also need to transform that data into useful information. And we're using computer vision AI, which is either working on the robot or in the cloud, to make use of the system. And obviously, we need to have a user interface, and this is the key point of it. This user interface allows to operate all those different robots and drones in one user interface, therefore making that training for the workers much more easier and therefore much more accessible across the company. Thank you very much. This is my minute.
Thank you so much. So our audience who are watching, if you have any questions or want to know more about MG Robotics, do put your questions in the chat, and I'll try and get to those later if we get time. I'm now going to pass to the judges. You have 10 minutes starting now.
Mark, thanks for the presentation. Very telling. It seems like you're doing quite well. I mean, you have a complete solution, you have customers that are using it, and it seems like it delivers a clear value proposition. What do you wish you had that you don't have today?
Back then or now?
Now.
Now, well, quite simple. What we are now at this pivot point where we're now deploying mass amounts of fleets of robots in those customers' places, right? So we're not speaking about 1 or 2 robots, we're talking about 5, 10, 20 robots in this environment. One of the biggest things is obviously that the training of those robots takes a lot of time. So if you consider it, 8,000 points of interest right now are collected by our robots every day. And this means that you need to point out the robot and say, hey, this is where you need to look at, this is a valve, this is a gauge, etc., and make sure that you connect that with the digital twin or the asset management system. A year ago, we applied for a European Innovation Council funding, which enables us to now bring semantic understanding to robotics, which means that the robots are now capable to walk through those environments and by itself identifying the points of interest which needs to be collected and supervised as well as inspected. On top of it, we're building an LLM-based system, which enables also to make that transition from operators which are well educated in their environment, but not as well educated in robotics and AI, to enable them to easily, naturally communicate with the robot in terms of, please now check all the pumps and pipes all over there in this area, do it now or 3 times a day. And this is the key point which we are now working on, because that is actually accelerating the deployment of those robots much more farther than actually the whole stuff about hardware. And I think you said that hardware is always hard. And yeah, we've been through that, do that rally, and we're seeing now it's working and we're taking off. So when you ask me that back then, it would be great to have more support. We're now moving towards a bigger funding round, and hopefully then deploying much more faster robots in the world.
Thank you.
Great presentation, Mark. And you mentioned in the beginning, obviously, different settings, different industrial settings from oil and gas, construction, and so forth. So it seems you already have a case study, a success story with Shell. So are you looking at going deeper in the oil and gas vertical, maybe other, oil and gas and refinery companies, or you're looking at going more horizontal and start to target other, industrial sectors besides oil and gas?
So what we've done in the past now was more or less always looking, if you have an area that needs to be inspected, we're looking towards the machine inside, right? Now we start also to look outside. So one of the case which is also interested is security surveillance, because also critical infrastructure is a use case where you need to continuously monitor in a certain environment and obviously check for intruders. Same story here. We see that we are running out of humans to do that, and therefore we need to automate and make sure that we are actually capable of protecting those infrastructures. We're also now seeing that we are capable of doing other industries. Right now we focused on those industries which had, let's say, the biggest need, especially oil and gas, chemical. These are industries which are just not sexy anymore for recruits, means they don't want to move into that. Therefore, they're running out of a skilled worker. And this is the key point of making sure that we have those infrastructure available, because it will stay for a while. Even if we're moving to renewable energy, we need to have refineries to use all those products which we are putting in skincare, etc., and therefore make that available.
Very clear. Thanks, Mark.
Hello, Mark. Thank you for a very interesting presentation. My question is, you said yourself that you are a software company, and that should enable you to scale quite fast. You also mentioned that you are hardware agnostic. The two offers, if I understand, the robot brand part of the software has to be adapted to the individual hardware, whoever the vendor is, right? So that's where one of my question is that for this adaptation, you have to basically interface with many brands or many different type of products. Is that also one of the obstacles for you to scale up?
Well, it's not an obstacle. It was in the past. We have now onboarded 8 different platforms, and usually what we're doing, we're looking into the best of class hardware providers, which are also capable of scaling their production as well as serving the customers in certain geographical areas. So if you have now a rolling robot with wheels, and usually that means the customer is not yet so cost sensitive that it makes sense to have all the different types of wheel-based robots deployed. Thankfully, there is certain standardization, right? ROS, Robotic Operation System, well known, allows us also mostly to quickly adapt to certain robots. Other robot providers, especially some specialized robot providers, which are known in the press very well, don't have ROS as a standard system, and therefore we put a lot of effort in adapting towards it. But we also see now a certain turnaround that we see hardware providers coming to us and asking if they can integrate. And we need to find our strategy here, how to do the operation in the future. But now we're very, let's say, quality focused and making sure that we integrate in the best of class robots and therefore optimizing our software stack perfectly on their robot to get the best out of the robot.
Okay, thank you. The second question is regarding security, especially if your application or your customer very often critical infrastructures.
Absolutely.
And how do you make sure that not only with your solution, including the hardware, that does not generate any, let's call it human safety or machine safety issues, as well as cybersecurity, because you also have a the brand in the cloud.
Absolutely. So there's a couple of different types of operations we do. The one is obviously that we have a cybersecurity team, which is taking care and always works with third-party penetration testers to ensure that our system is working to a high standard. Second is that not every customer is looking into a cloud infrastructure setup. So some of them also looking at an on-premise solution. And we see now many in the industry also moving towards on-premise. So this is a way forward for us as well, to make sure that we are not only IT safe, but also OT safe, and therefore can connect with their systems. This is right now a pinpoint, because also when we talk about autonomous mobile robots, those usually are always supervised. Means there is one human which is supervising multiple robots at a time, because making a decision in this environment, and there we come with how do you make safe decisions, is the robot doesn't know, is this truck now moving? Is it stays there? What should I do? So they're gonna usually ask a human supervisor, am I safe to cross? Can I do this? Or also in that ever-changing environment, there's scaffolding, there are blocks, etc. So the robot always need to adjust, and sometimes human need to make the decision for the robot. So this is a kind of safety infrastructure we put on top to make sure that the humans are always stay in control, even if the AI is working at its best.
Thank you.
Okay, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for the questions from our judges. So thank you very much, judges, and thank you very much, Energy Robotics. That was fascinating to hear about. Next up, we've got the second exoskeleton company, this time from France, and we have Wondercraft. Wondercraft, your 5 minutes start now.
Hi, everyone. Introducing on the left-hand side, Nicolas. Nicolas in the white shirt, and his brother Thibaut, who is a quadriplegic, he can't walk, and myself with my son Oscar, who is also quadriplegic and can't walk. Nicolas is a genius in robotics, and I'm a robotics engineer with some experience in entrepreneurship. And 11 years ago, we decided to establish Wondercraft with a mission to let the walking impaired walk again, using the most advanced walk robotics. There are 30 million persons in wheelchairs. They struggle with two main issues. One is mobility, it's quite obvious. The second is health, which is less known. When you're sitting all day in a wheelchair, you acquire diseases and complications that make your life harder, and that may be fatal. We knew that there were exoskeletons before, designed 20 years ago, and that don't fully solve either the mobility issue nor the health and complications problem. Because they're unstable, you need to use crutches. You can only walk mostly in straight lines. So we knew we had to develop a truly humanoid robot that could walk by itself, pretty much like a human. That we developed. We have a first version named Atalante, which has been produced since 2020, and which is selling very well to hospitals. We have most of the leading hospitals in France, Europe, and starting in the USA with our FDA approval last year. Atalante is a big robot that's really made for predictable environments in hospitals. But we used it for testing indoor daily life motion for the last 2 years. And as you can see on the video, a paraplegic person can use it for doing pretty much everything at home that you can't do with a wheelchair or with an exoskeleton of the former generation. And we tested all tasks with Atalante, but Atalante can't cope with the outside environments. So we have developed a second generation of the same platform called Eve, which is much slimmer, much more agile, and completely self-balanced, targeting out of the 30 million wheelchair users, 1.6 million early adopters, meaning that they are ready to use the exoskeleton right now, and they are in countries where there is reimbursement or where it's really near to happen. Literally yesterday, CMS, Medicare in the US, announced the reimbursement for such exoskeletons, which is way above our business plan, around $100,000. So we have a market access pathway. And now what I'm showing you, you've never seen it because we never published these videos. This is the progress of that personal exoskeleton, Eve, which is capable of doing everything outdoor, in the city, in users' communities, in the lab on the left-hand side, and outside in the street. So it's never been made by any exoskeleton or even by walking robots to let a robot evolve by itself in the urban environment. We think we really defined the state of the art in exoskeleton autonomous walk, but also even in robotic walk, as all other walking robots are prototypes. And for this, we have hybridized, I don't know. We have coupled deterministic algorithms and AI. AI is the only way to let the robot be stable with unpredictable perturbations. We have a full stack team, but most at the core of the reactor, the R&D, algorithms and robotics team, which is probably one of the best in the world. attracted because we are at the edge of technology, but also because, as it was said before, the smiles of the persons when they stand up in hospitals and now in tests in the city is something that attracts, of course, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, your time is up. That was 5 minutes. I know there's a lot to talk about. I've actually tested the old version of your robot, and I can say it's very impressive. So I'm now going to hand over to our judges who have 10 minutes starting now to pick Jean-Louis's brains.
Jean-Louis, thank you so much for a very impressive looking product. I'm fascinated that we got to see it walking outside. That's incredible. I suspect there was some more of this in your presentation, but to echo what I think Bruce asked, one of our last people, you've come pretty far. What now? What would you like? How do we help?
Well, we definitely need more distribution and more market access. We distribute by ourselves in France and the USA. We have, and also in Spain for reasons. We have distributors in Italy that's picking up. We would need distributors in the large countries. That's one thing. We also need market access competencies outside of France and the USA, meaning that, as was said before, we need to discuss with all private and public insurers in any country where we want to be. And that takes time and resources. So partnerships will be very useful. And we're integrating production in that sense that we're designing everything and assembling ourselves. There will be a time when we can really partner with a contract manufacturer or an engineering partner to get costs even lower. We're quite happy with our costs today, but we have to cut them and increase volumes by a large amount because, as I said, it's pretty much imaginable to make 10 to 20,000 robots per year, and that is difficult. It will take time. So partnering with an experienced manufacturer, we know how to design transfer. So we're ready to do that. That's the things we would need today.
One more question. For all of the videos that you showed, it looked like there was an assistant, perhaps. Is this system designed so could I eventually use it on my own, or would I need to have a someone else learn it with me for anything?
Well, in the last video you saw, the assistant was not touching the robot. The whole trick is to make the robot stable in all circumstances without an assistant. So we're testing a prototype with a paraplegic person with a special regulatory status that requires someone to be close to the robot in all cases. Safety is the name of our game, so we can't take risks. But today, the last version that you saw on video is completely autonomous.
Thank you.
Totally, very, very impressive. Michaela took my favorite question, but what is your goal for eventually the price of this? Where do you want to get it to?
I will give you my personal feeling. We're quite okay with what CMS is proposing. We've been integrated in the discussions, of course. We don't expect that payers will remain at $100,000 for large numbers, just because the social security systems and private payers don't have that money for 30 million persons. So we want to decrease the cost so that we can increase the volumes and have more people walking with our device and standing up from their wheelchairs. That's why we started this company. It's for my son and Nicolas' brother at the beginning. So we anticipate that the price will go down from 100,000 to something like 70,000, and then in, let's say, 5 years, lower for more countries. We have integrated refurbishing at the heart of our design and fabrication system so that we can refurbish existing exoskeletons to the highest level of safety, re-software them, and sell them to less affluent countries at half the price. So we have a way, but at some point, these robots should cost, I don't know, 20,000, because it's basically 12 electric motors with a hardware, and marginal cost of software is 0. So I hope my shareholders are not listening.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jean-Louis, for the very impressive video and presentation. What kind of range are you looking at, let's say, for Eve, for this next generation version? Meaning, could it be like an all-day thing, or more for specific tasks or parts of the daily life of the
well, you can't design it for a specific task, because you have something like 12 tasks that if you miss one, it's a no showstopper game. If you miss one, nobody's going to leave their homes, and you know, you're not dragging your wheelchair with you. So you have to be able to access inaccessible toilets. You have to be able to walk at least one, and later one step up and down, and then a staircase. You have to be able to get into an Uber taxi or take the bus, and that's the mandatory. We have worked with 500 patients for market research and product marketing. So we have a good knowledge of the, you know, starting early adopter segments, and then you want to go further. It's not going to walk on a beach in the next 3-4 years, but that will happen. You can do everything. It's software, basically. So once you have a hardware that's workable, you can gradually do everything, but you have to do a minimum that allows many people to do a complete day of, you know, daily life.
That's what I do. Thanks, Ron.
Hello, Jean-Louis. You mentioned that your target cost is actually 20,000.
Yeah, that's fair to say. Yeah.
Do you see that that is reasonable given the expected volume, or do you see that there are more innovation or new technology needs to be introduced to bring?
No, it's feasible with current technologies without exotic materials. That would be too expensive. But basically, I'm sure you know that better. You want to jump from machining to forging and injection. You want to use more off-the-shelf or proprietary standards. A lot of things like motors we have to design ourselves. This will change. So yes, we have a pathway to get down to this cost. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But we know it's feasible, but I'm not sure we know how to do it ourselves right now.
Okay.
We may have external partners, like, you know, companies that make robots, for example.
Right. Thank you.
Still got a few minutes left if you have any more questions that you would like to put to Jean-Louis.
Jean-Louis, I'd love a little more on Ludwig's question of range. So what to be able to support a person for a day's worth of life, is that a kilometer? Is that less?
It's basically nearly, to give you a clear answer, and there are of course modulations around the answer, but it's 1 to 2 hours at 3 to 5 kilometers per hour. And the rest is less, has less consumption in energy, like standing up, sitting down several times, and moving around. And we have a good experience in that, because our rehabilitation exoskeleton has already treated 2,000 patients. So physiotherapists use it day in, day out, 8 hours per day. And human walk is the thing that has the best efficiency in the known universe. The consumption of the economy of walking is extremely performing. So the closer we are to human walk, the less energy we consume. And then when you sit down, you can plug it in and reload. So energy shouldn't be a big issue. We can use more advanced technologies like super capacitors, nanotubes, carbon nanotubes, to boost the batteries for peaks of consumptions. This is on our plate for next year.
Okay, that's all we've got time for, I'm afraid. So you've now heard from all of our 4 companies today, from those great teams. I'm going to give a little bit of time to our judges now, who are going to make the final decision and select the winner of today's session. So judges, please connect to the separate call. And once a decision is made, let us know and then come back here. And don't forget to mute and turn off your camera. So while our judges are making that difficult decision, because obviously those startups all sound great, I just want to talk to our finalists today, also our audience who are still with us. If you want to send us some questions, I can put those to our startups, and now's the time to do that. So before I get on with audience questions, I would like to also mention again that we were talking about at the beginning of the session, the winner will participate in the Robotics for Good Innovation Grand Finale, and they'll have the opportunity to get a cash prize of 20,000 and access to exclusive KUKA mentorship. So firstly, I'd like to ask each of those startups how you would use the money and what you would benefit from this mentoring session. So let me go back to Akwai, who started this session today.
Hello. Yes, I guess from the mentoring session, having a hardware software company, you either get mentors that are focusing on software only, or those obviously who are focusing on some of the older manufacturing styles. What I'm hoping to get from the mentoring sessions would be someone who's comfortable with both software, which it seems as a robotics company and mentorship program, scaling robots that are both hardware, software, cloud-based as well for the information, and flexible manufacturing. So not kind of the older methodologies, but some of the new flexible manufacturing that allows agility both in production thereof, but also in the global scaling as well.
Okay, so a lot of you had said global scaling seems to be your main goal there. I want to put that same question to GiveMove about what you would do with the prize money, and how would you benefit from that mentoring from KUKA as well?
Well, we did all this without any private investment, only by bootstrapping. We want to continue with the certifications in the CE to get into the market in Europe, to finish the FDA certification in the United States in order to start selling in United States too, to open new markets in Latin America, obviously in Europe too, to help more families that need our solution.
Mm-hmm. And do you find it, from being in Argentina, do you find it quite difficult to get access to those markets? What kind of things cut you off? Because obviously you can get to these events, you can make, the Zoom calls and everything, but why particularly is it difficult?
Well, we have a lot of problems here, such as economic problems, society problems, that we need to show what we are doing to the rest of the world in order to have alliance parts, in order to scale in sales, in order to raise money, such as investors' capitals, or but we focus for the next year to install an assembly plant outside from her country, in order to come and to produce without the problems that we have here.
Okay, that's interesting. And I want to bring Jean-Louis in back again, just because you both have exoskeleton companies. You're on different sides of the world. You're in France, he's in Argentina. Do you see the same issues?
Well, we have different products, and I think Alejandro mentioned it. We don't have the same targets as well, but yeah, we're close. I like this product, by the way. As I said, if we have more money, and I think we are well funded right now, but we will scale faster, not super fast, because you have to work step by step. But besides Western Europe and the USA, there is a potential in Latin America and Japan and Australia and South Korea, for example, and Canada. And all these countries have different healthcare systems, needing each of them needs someone to take care of the market access, insurance conversations, reimbursement, etc. So that costs money. And the other thing that's going to cost is marketing, because we know how to sell those products, but you have to drive rapidly a community of users towards sales points, basically, where they will try the product. That will be in hospitals first, because hospitals are already used to open corners for wheelchair manufacturers or makers of adapted furniture, for example. And we have discussed that with them. But then you need to drive the patients, make demonstrations, etc. So there is some marketing cost. And the last thing regarding KUKA is, I think I have hinted a little about it during the conversation. We could use and have a great benefit from talking with a company that has a manufacturing experience to improve our manufacturing process and possibly outsource some part of it. Yeah.
Okay, very good to hear. And I want to
sorry, Pascal.
Mark from
Only one thing, Jen, it's amazing what you are doing. I'm your fan, and I have been following you for the last 2 years, and I cannot imagine this situation. So I will text you later.
Yeah, we have to talk. I like what you do, because the story is my son when he was 5. He doesn't have the pathologies that you have most. But he asked me, Dad, you're an engineer in robotics. Why don't you make a robot instead of offering me my first wheelchair? So, we have the same background, definitely. Yeah, we have to talk.
Well, fans of each other. It's nice to see. So I want to bring back Mark from Energy Robotics. Why would the prize money be important to you, and what would you gain from that mentoring from KUKA?
I mean, after those 2 startups, which are really moving humanity forward in a big time, right? It's tough to say I'm just going to hire more people. For me, it's more like maybe just splitting up and giving it to both of them, because it probably makes more impact on their side than on our side. But the key point here, I think, KUKA is an amazing partner. Funny enough, also a former German company. And I think that especially in the manufacturing space, there is a lot of opportunity for autonomous mobile robots and their operations, because there are seen already cases where let's say the robots 1.0, which are the industrial robots we know, are need to let's say be more flexible and have an assistance more or less from mobile autonomous robots, which are cooperating with them. So I think there's a lot of interesting things we can discuss, and although the KUKA can help us on moving in this space.
Well, fingers crossed for you. I want to stay with you and ask you a little bit about the challenges, because we've heard from France and Argentina, scaling can be a problem. Access to funding in tech at the moment is quite limited. So how do you see yourselves overcoming those obstacles?
It's exactly those let's say events as this one to get the message out, because yes, especially if you're in robotics, many of the industry are staying away from hardware. because of the problems we see with hardware. It's always cost more money, it takes more time, etc. Right? So those events are very important to get out the message. And being very active in this space to talk to VCs, to get them into the discussion and take them along the journey and make them clear what's next happening. We see a move now. We see the market is opening. It's getting better. There's also AI was very overhyped, and now people realizing AI needs a body, so you need to have robotics as well. So this is now happening, and we are very thankful for that movement.
Okay, thanks for that. I want to bring Akwai back in and ask you, what kind of challenges have you seen in your sector? Have you seen tech funding being reduced too? And also, you know, a lot of bodies are now trying to establish AI regulation. Do you see that changing a lot for your business?
Well, I can start with the funding. Unlike maybe some of you, we are not well funded and never have been. We've bootstrapped and have received the growth that we had from our mostly paid pilots and customers and NRE. So I guess everyone is feeling the pain that I've been feeling since we started the company when it comes to fundraising. So nothing's changed there for us. We just keep getting, you know, more interest and more customers and getting them to do some down payments or pay trials and so forth. That's how we've grown. That's why the money would be very well used in terms of growing the company. And expediting our delivery of our orders and things like that. In terms of AI, so in the water space, you know, we're kind of like where, let's say, flying, you know, UAVs are years ago, where there will be regulations. I think we'll be facing regulations more in that way, as opposed to maybe what in the AI sense. So, you know, we're swimming based on a mapping, geolocation and GPS mapping, and that's how we kind of program, and then it learns its environment, our robots. But I'm not so concerned with the AI aspect for us, but I'm sure that for the land robots, and by the way, I loved watching everyone's presentation and really enjoy how our children are the ones who influenced us to do what we're doing today. Because, you know, we actually started our company as well because our daughter said, I'm looking at what's happening to the waters of the world and the ocean, and stop building land robots and make a robot, you know, that can actually be impactful for our, you know, life source of being water. So it's great how our kids are what got us into this insanity. So hats off to everybody for that one. And yeah, I guess I've answered your questions. Thank you.
Yeah, that is lovely to see. We did have one question for you from our audience, from Guy Bishops. He says, Akwai, good idea. Are you using GenAI models in your robot or for real-time data?
Am I using what in our robots?
GenAI.
Yeah, generative. Not at the moment, but clearly, especially when it comes, I think, to the predictive analytics side of things, that will most likely be very helpful in the future, but not at the moment. But hey, Guy, I guess shoot me an email, you know, LIANE@Akwai. It's pretty easy. So
if you've got any more questions from our audience, then now is the time to put them to those startups. So I want to come back to you, Alejandro, and ask you about AI regulation. We know definitely in the US and Europe and the UK, there's trying to get governing bodies around. What is it like in South America?
We don't have here. It's a reality. No, we don't have nothing about regulations here. So
is that a good thing, or do you think it's needed?
No, it's needed, but companies that work with AI think in Europe market or US market. So we see what companies do in those countries and apply the knowledge and the law that those countries have in order to check with all the regulations.
Yeah, and what kind of, if any, do you receive funding or support from your government? What kind do you get?
Again, please.
Yeah, what kind of help do you get from your government? Do you find Argentina is very pushing for startups? Are there enough programs to support you?
Half. We received, yes, grants, credits, but few. We're pushing our business with the sales.
Yeah. Okay, good to hear. And could I ask, how many employees do you have?
Now we are 8 people working every day.
Okay, so yeah, very small still. And what kind of markets do you want to target? Where do you see your product going?
We are working worldwide. We think local. We produce local, but thinking globally, because there are a lot of families that need our solution. We didn't invest $1 in marketing on social media, for example. Videos go viral on social media, and families from different countries around the world call us asking for our device. So this show us that there are a lot of families that need a solution like our solution. You can find others in different countries, but this show us that it's a big potential market around the world.
Okay,
so,
right.
Step by step,
Step.
we continue with all the certifications in order to get into different markets with the certification that we need.
Okay, great. Well, it sounds like you're all going step by step and, taking things slowly and at a comfortable rhythm. So that's good to hear. I want to bring our judges back now because I believe they have a decision. Well, they have the answer to the decision, and I think they now have a winner.
Bruce, do you wanna announce it for us?
I would be happy to. It was quite a debate. There were so many great things going on with the companies presenting on so many different dimensions, both on impact and on progress and on promise. That it was not an easy decision, but we have chosen Wandercraft as the winner of this competition, and we are quite excited to be able to announce that.
Well, can I react?
Yeah,
I think you already did, but please.
I was thinking I was in your shoes, and I'm quite close for different reasons to the 3 usages of the 3 companies that we have seen, and I would have been really objectively embarrassed to make a choice, because of course Alejandro, he has as we were discussing, the same smiles that we have every day, and we regret so much not to have them with kids right now, because we start at 1.5 meters high. And I was talking about my son, who asked me a robot when he was 5, so he knows about that. C is a very important thing for me, and I'm very close to that usage, and industry as well, and making robots smarter and useful, which are not today. There are 3 million robots in the world, and the 3 million are in factories, not out there doing stuff. So everything was so I'm amazed and very, very proud for my team and for what we're doing here. Thank you very much, and thank you for you guys for the what you showed.
So congratulations, Jean-Louis. I think to get this winner for this round. I think the one of the key topic you mentioned to bring down production cost of your product. This is probably we can talk separately. As one of the largest industrial robot companies, just as you mentioned, there are 3 million already working mostly in factories today. If you look at components, it's not so different from let's say a lightweight, small size industrial robot. So maybe we can have a separate discussion. But congratulations again on getting this award.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And we have ideas for the next phase that I would like to share with you to address an even bigger market.
Yeah.
You will be interested.
Wanted to echo my congrats, Jean-Louis, especially, when you presented your last video showing outdoor, fully untethered in kind of quite unstructured, dense environment was very impressive. So I assume a lot needs to be further developed on the sensing, AI side. So again, very happy to keep in touch. As you can imagine, Sony has a lot on the sensing side as well. So yeah, happy to follow up on the discussion. Yeah.
Thank you, Ludovic.
Sincere congratulations to everyone. They were really, really good presentations. So thanks to everyone. I feel smarter having listened to all of you, which I always appreciate. Jean-Louis, that was just a really exciting presentation that you gave as well. And I look forward to hoping you win and then you come be a member at Mass Robotics. But I'm excited for your journey. And if we can help, I hope you let us know. That goes for all of you, but you too, Jean-Louis. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We know you, of course.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, and thanks everyone, and for all our startups and their wonderful ideas and products. Special congrats to Jean-Louis, and a big thanks to our esteemed judges. I'm now going to pass you back to Guillaume.
So thanks a lot, Pascal, and congratulations to Wondercraft and all the finalists for this session. For the finalists today, we'll stay in touch with you and have another closed session to hear more about your business plan in detail and help you explore further business opportunities. And we also encourage you to check out the AI for Good program online to see more sessions that may be of interest to you. And the next Robotics for Good Innovation Factory session is to be held in February 2024. Applications are open now to all kinds of startups using AI and robotics to make social impact and help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. So stay tuned with us and hope to see you again next time. So have a lovely day or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. And thanks a lot and see you next time.
Thank you to all. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you for participating in today's AI for Good session. We hope you've learned something new, innovative, and engaging in today's event. We now encourage you to continue the conversation on the live video wall in the neural network. Hit poster boards, the eShop, and build your personalized AI for Good program. Let's shape the future of AI for Good.
The AI for Good Global Summit, convened by ITU, recognizes the joint responsibility of governments, the private sector, United Nations agencies, academia, and others to ensure AI reaches its full potential while preventing and mitigating harms.
And it's a moment that calls for action. And today I'm calling on each of you to use this summit to help the world to better understand what kinds of regulations, what kinds of guardrails we need to put in place right now. So together, let's make it innovative, let's make it safe, and let's make it responsible for all. Thank you very much.